In today's video tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate a sweet and simple cake that would be perfect for Valentine's Day. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is create some chocolate panels, and these are made from just melted candy coating. And I'm pouring it onto a wax paper lined cookie sheet. Let's see if this is enough. You'll notice, maybe, I'm not sure if you can see, but I have 4 dots here. And that is something that I'm just using as a loose guide because we're going to be wrapping our panels around a cake that is probably about 4 inches tall, and I wanted my panels to be slightly taller than that. So by doing just a large 10-inch rectangle, which I'm going to later split in half, that will give me about 5-inch panels. Okay, so I'm just spreading this out. I want to work fairly quickly because I don't want my chocolate to set up before I have a chance to decorate. Okay, so next I'm going in with red and pink melted candy melts, and I have it in a disposable piping bag. I'm just going to snip the end off, and I'm just going to quickly pipe all over this white chocolate. So we'll do this really quickly. And same thing with the red. And I'm just trying to work quickly because I want to make sure that it doesn't set up before I have a chance to really make my designs. So this is up to you, however you want to do your design. You'll see in a second that I'm just going to go in with a toothpick and start kind of spreading out the colors in different directions just for some interesting looking patterns. Okay, so we can go in all one direction. On some of them, if you want to go back in the opposite direction for a different look, that's pretty too. And you can just get some really interesting designs based on the direction of that you drag your toothpick. Okay, and every now and then you might have a little bit of buildup on your toothpick, so just wipe that off on a paper towel and just continue on. But I think this will give us some really interesting looking panels. Okay, so we're just about finished. And the next step will be just to let this sit and set up, and it might not take very long because it's kind of cold in our kitchen today. Once it takes on a matte look, we're going to begin cutting our panels. So now what I'm going to do, our chocolate has set, and I'm just trimming things off just a little bit so we can start with a straight edge on both sides. This chocolate's a little more set than I wish it was, but we were talking away and not really watching it. But it probably took about maybe 10 or 15 minutes to get to this point. I would definitely check it before the 15-minute mark. It might even be ready to start cutting after 5 minutes based on the temperature of your counter. Okay, so that just gives us some clean edges. So now I am going to cut this in half. And that'll give us 2 rows. All right, I think we're pretty good. Okay, if you want to measure this out, I don't do a whole lot of measuring if I can help it. I usually just eyeball things. But you can certainly measure if you want to make sure everything is precise. Okay, so now we're starting to cut our panels. And just to give you an idea, this is about 1.25 inches. And you can make yours however wide you'd like. And I'm just applying some pressure because this chocolate is fairly thick and it's starting to set up. Okay, I need to turn it towards me a little bit so I make sure I'm making a straight cut. And we're just going to carry this all the way across. If our panels are not exactly identical, it's okay. Sometimes when I do panel cakes, I let the lengths vary anyway. Okay, so I'm going to just keep on cutting. We'll meet back in just a few minutes. Okay, so I have just finished my last cut. You can either leave this at room temperature, or if you're getting ready to decorate the cake, I would pop it in the freezer until it really firms up. That way you can easily snap all of the panels apart, and you can also handle them without worrying that they'll break. So I'm going to place this in the freezer and we'll meet back in just a few minutes. Okay, so here we have an 8-inch frosted cake, and we frosted it with our fluffy vanilla buttercream. I just ran a spatula through the frosting while it was on my turntable. But none of this matters anyway because we're going to cover up the sides. It's crusted, so I'm going to add a little bit of fresh buttercream as I work my way around. But we have our tray of chocolate panels here, and these I just froze for about 15 minutes, and so they're nice and firm and easy to handle. And because we had scored them already, they just pop off really easily. Okay, so now I'm going to just pick a spot to start, add a little buttercream for glue, and there we have our first one. Actually, I think I like it better this way. And then
it's not quite straight. There you go.
Okay. And then we'll go in with the next one. And I'm going to do just a very slight overlap, but if you'd rather arrange them so they're side by side, that's okay too. I just think it looks, I don't know, I just kind of like the look of the overlap. And so this part goes pretty quickly because we've already done all the work. So this is the fun part. Okay. Okay. And if you're doing an overlap, make sure that you put buttercream far enough over to the side that it will hit the actual cake and really adhere to it rather than just the panel in front of it. Okay, so I'm going to continue working my way all the way around, and we'll meet back in just a few minutes. Okay, so we have filled our cake with all of our panels. I think it looks really nice. I didn't have any panels to spare. I actually used every last one of them. So just keep that in mind. And also, the fact that I overlapped my panels slightly, that meant that I probably needed 1 or 2 more than I would have if I had put them just side by side. But now I'm filling the top as an optional step. I had made a pretty little ridged spiral on top, but I decided it would look nice to have French tip piping on top. So I'm using a French tip 869 and just piping on buttercream all the way across just to add a little more interest. Okay, so now we are making the word love that will be in chocolate and placed on top of the cake. I just did a practice run so you can see there's still some smudges from my attempt just a second ago. But all that I'm doing is just filling these little cavities in. And I'll leave a link to my mold. Let's see. Or if you'd rather, if you don't have a mold like this, you could also just pipe your letters onto wax paper. And that would be good too. Okay. So I'm filling all these up. And I need to scrape off some of the excess. So just to clean this off, because the top is actually going to be the front of the letter, so we want it to look nice and clean. Okay. Same thing on all the letters. And as a final touch, I'm being really messy. Okay. All right. As a final touch, I'm going to sprinkle these little white, these are Wilton sprinkles, but you could use whatever sprinkle you like. I'm just going to cover the top with white sprinkles, just for an added little detail. Kind of dresses it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to throw these in the freezer for probably 15 minutes until they're firm, and then we'll meet right back. Okay, so these have chilled for at least 15 minutes. They are nice and hard, and I'm just going to flip it over and peel back the silicone mold, and we'll see if I can do this without breaking anything. They are a little stronger though because they're so thick. Okay, so there we have a V, and okay. Also, it's a good idea to do this on a cookie sheet that has edges like this, or something that can catch all of these little sprinkles, because they will roll all over the place if they're not contained somehow. Okay, so you see how this works. I'm going to continue on, and we will be right back. Okay, so our cake is finished. I love how this came out. I think it's really fun and interesting and very simple to create. And whether you use this for Valentine's Day or anniversary, or you could remove the love altogether and just use the chocolate panels and different shades to match whatever your occasion, I think it's a great technique to learn. So I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.